In this tutorial, we're going to be going over how to add a button on your slider that will link to another page on your website. And in order to do this, this is a very easy thing to do. What we're going to do is we're going to first of all get into you're going to log into your dashboard. You're going to go to the page where the slider is on, pages, then all pages. And in this case, the slider is on the home page. So we're going to scroll down until we get to the home page. We're going to click on the home page. Going to wait for the page builder to open, and it's now open. So now we see here's where the slider is. We're going to open the slider. And in this slider, we have a number of different slides on here. The first thing I want to do is to go over how we can make it easier to find an individual slide on here. You see the first three are named, but the second or the next two just say new slide. In order to make it easier to know which slide is which, what I normally do is I go into the particular slider and I look at what the image is. In this case, I would name this one the good cup, so we can tell what that slide is. We go scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we have an admin label text box right here. So we're going to put our cursor in there and put in the good cup. I believe that's what the name was. I'll go back up here and check that again just to make sure. The good cup. So now I have that name, and I'm going to save that, and now I can see that when I put that in there, it's labeled so I can just see easier which slide belongs to which. Now if I want to put a button on, we'll say this slide here, Discover God. So I'm going to open this one up. I click on the hamburger here on the left, and that opens the slide up. Now you see the first one has a heading. If you wanted to actually have a heading show up on the slide, you would put that here, but you also have an area that you can create a button on that slide. And the only thing you need to do to create the button is to put some text in here, and the button will be created automatically. So say I want to link this button on the slider to the leadership page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this text box next to button text, and I'm going to say leadership page, and then I need the link to go in here where that page needs to go to. So I'm going to go back up here to the tab where I have my actual site. I'm going to click on the leadership page, and when I do that, the URL shows up here. I'm just going to copy that URL. I'm going to go back into the dashboard to that area where it asks for the button URL, and I'm going to paste it into that section there. And when I do that, click on save, save and exit, and then go back up here and click on update to update the whole page. And the update has been completed, so I'm going to go back to my actual site. I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to get to that slider picture where I created that, and we can see that the button is right here. We'll just let this play out so it stops changing on its own. And now I'm going to go back to that slide again. You can see when we hover, it changes there so people know. Go back there again so people know that that's an actual link. Now when I click on that button, it will take me to the leadership page. One thing I want to go over is when we create a graphic that's going to have a button on it, we'll go back to that again, you see that the button appears right about in the middle of the graphic. So when you're designing that graphic, it's important to design it so you have a background where it shows up, and also not have it interfere with any words on the graphic. So maybe these words could be up on top a little bit and have this part could stay where it is, but just you want to make sure it doesn't interfere with this button that you have here. If you want it, if the background that you have, if this button, if the text in this background behind the text doesn't show up how you want it to, maybe you want it to be a little bit darker, or you want it to be a different color to show up better on whatever the background is of your graphic, what you can do is go back into your home page again, scroll down a little bit, go back into your slider, and we'll go back into that particular slide that you want the button on. And now we're going to go into Advanced Design Settings. I'm just going to click on that tab. And when we scroll down to the bottom, we can see this part here that says Use Custom Styles for the button. So if I want to style that button differently, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this part here and click on that till it says Yes. When it says yes, it gives me a bunch of options where I can do a whole bunch of things to style the button differently. I can change the button size by pulling this slide back and forth. I can change the text color on the button. I can change the background color that's behind the text. So if I want to do that to make it stand out a little bit more, I'll click on that. You can see, if I scroll down a little bit, that we have basically this part here. I can pull this circle to any part here, and this will tell me what color is going to, or is going to be behind the text. This part here will show me what the current color is, and this part here shows me what the new color that I'm choosing is. If I want it to be anywhere in the gray, I would just slide it around here. If I want it to be one of these other colors, maybe I want a red, I would choose that. And now I can pull that slider and choose not only red, but any other color on the rainbow here. I might want it to be like this. And then we can also choose the transparency of that button too. If I want it to be a solid green like this, I would leave this transparency slide way up at the top. If I want that background behind the text to be a little bit transparent so you can see the graphic more, I would just pull this down, and you can see now when I do this, when I have it way up at the top, you can see the plain color. When I pull it down, you start to see the checkerboard behind that color. And that checkerboard on your actual picture will be whatever is whatever's on the actual graphic. Like we'll go back to that slide here. Oops. Right here. We can see this is fully transparent. We can see whatever's behind the text in that button. You can actually see the graphic behind that. So to get something like that, we would make this completely transparent. But if you want to show some color behind it, like maybe this green, I'll pull this slide up here about like this, and now we'll see what that looks like. I'm going to go click on Save, Save and Exit, click on Update. And now go back to my actual home page. I'm going to update that page, and now go back to the slide. And now I see that green here behind the text on my button. Okay, so that's how you style the button. And we can see here that if we go back into our dashboard and go back into our slider, and then that particular slide again, we can see that we have, whoops, I'm going to go to the advanced design settings first. And then when we scroll down, we can see that we have a whole bunch of different options for that button. So we can play around with these and see how it looks. See if you like that, the different things that you chose. And we can see some of the different options it has. You notice that if you go back into the button here, you see that there's a white border around the button itself. That border can be styled here. You can choose a different color for the button border. And you can see some of the different things here. The button fonts, you can choose different fonts for that. You can bold the font, italicize it. You can even add an icon to the button. If you want to add an icon, you could either choose the default, which is an arrow. The icon is this. Oops. Go back here. The icon is when I hover over the button, you see a little greater than symbol or an arrow, and that's where that icon would appear. So you can keep it as the default there, or you can choose a custom icon by selecting yes here, and now you can choose one of these other icons there. I'm just going to keep it with the default. And one last part here is you also notice that when you hover over the button, it changes slightly. The color changes, and you can choose the different options that you have for the hover options. Whoops. That would be down here. The button hover text color, the button hover background color. So you can play around with these two and make that button style the button a little bit differently so it stands out on whatever the picture is that's behind it. So that's basically what there is to styling the button. I'm going to go back here, and if I want to go back to my default settings, what I do is I go back down here to where it says use custom styles for button. I'm going to select no and go back to the background or the default settings. And I actually don't want a button on this one, so I'm going to take that button off. I'm going to go back to general settings, and for button text, I'm going to delete this and delete my link, and I'm going to save and exit, and then update my page. And now when I go back to my actual site, I should see that the button is no longer on that graphic, and it's not. So that's how to put a button with a link on it to a different page on a graphic that's on your slider.